Hi everybody, Claire Williams with the People Side here. This month in our Leadership Game Changer series, we are talking about emotional intelligence. And today we're going to dig into how to apply emotional intelligence principles to give great feedback and to engage in feedback conversations. So this is going to be fast and furious, 7 hot tips for great feedback conversations that are emotionally intelligent. Number 1, make sure the conditions are right. And so if you've been following our Game Changer series this year, you know that last month we focused on psychological safety. And psychological safety, which is all about trust and allowing people to show up as fully themselves, that is the prerequisite for a great feedback conversation. So if you want more on that, rewind to last month and check out our content on how to create psychological safety on your teams. Tip number 2, start with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I entering this conversation? Am I feeling judgmental? Am I feeling caring and compassionate? Am I feeling awkward and nervous? And those are all natural reactions to needing to give feedback, but they're all going to create a very different kind of environment in the conversation. So check in with yourself. Are there any adjustments you need to make? Or are there any assumptions you need to let go of that the other person is feeling like you must be feeling? Tip number 3 is be radically candid. And so this comes from the awesome book, Radical Candor by Kim Scott. That's my dog. That came out this last year. The best book on management that I've ever read, actually, because it's full of practical tips and ideas. So Radical Candor is about the intersection of caring personally while also challenging directly. And I won't go into all of these, but if you do either of these things or you're lacking in them, but you have the other and the other one's missing, it creates all kinds of trouble. But Radical Candor is the sweet spot where those two things meet. And that book has some awesome tips on how to give great feedback. So highly recommend that. Okay, tip number 4, start with what the other person cares about. A lot of times it's tempting for us to assume that the person is invested in whatever outcome you're invested in that's leading you to give the feedback so that things get better. But that may not be true. Maybe they actually aren't that invested in the project or the organization's goals. And that's another conversation for another time. But for the purposes of feedback, you might think about, what do I know this person is highly invested in? And so maybe it's, hey Claire, I know how important it is to you to get to the next level. So let me share something that might help you on your way there. Or Claire, I know how important it is to you that everybody feels included. And so I want to share something with you that I think might be working against that goal. All right, so start with what the other person cares about. Tip number 5, so use the SBI feedback framework. This is the best conversational framework that I've ever found for feedback, and it's from the Center for Creative Leadership. And SBI stands for Situation, Behavior, Impact, and I've got it right here. So I'll walk through it quickly. You can Google it and read more. Situation is all about grounding the conversation in a moment in time. So not necessarily a pattern or a vague sense of something that you've picked up on, but rather a moment in time that you can take the person back to. So, hey Claire, in the meeting on Friday with the project team, that would be a situation. Behavior is when you tell them exactly what the behavior was that you observed, not what you made of it. So not, hey Claire, you seemed disengaged, because I don't know if Claire seemed disengaged. I don't know what she was feeling inside, but I do know that what I saw was, Claire, you were on your phone the whole time and didn't speak up. So that's a behavior. The impact is why did it matter? What impact did it have on you as a person or the team that you observed, or on the business and the task at hand? And that might be when you were on your phone the whole meeting, I was distracted and left wondering what you thought, and I wanted to hear from you. All right, so tip number 6, let it go. A lot of us want to give feedback and then kind of follow through again and again and make sure the person acts on it or they heard it the right way, or maybe we need to tweak that one sentence so that they actually let it sink in. And there may be a time and place, certainly, for follow-up conversations. I think that's a good thing. But what I'm talking about is being emotionally attached after you give the feedback. So let go of the emotional responsibility for the person to act on your feedback. Our job is to say what's true for us, and then it's information we give them, and the other person gets to decide, do I take that information and do something with it, or do I not? And for us, the best thing we can do is just to do our part and then let the other person do theirs and let it go. Okay, final tip, tip number 7. This is kind of flipping the script. So this isn't so much about how to give great feedback, but it's about how to ask for great feedback so that you model the way for that for your team and the people around you. And David Rock, who's the head of the Neuro Leadership Institute, from his years of research knows that all of the teaching and training we've done in corporate America for decades about how managers can give great feedback hasn't done a whole lot actually to change our feedback cultures. And it's because when we are feedback receivers, our brain is in defense mode. So someone springs feedback on us, the walls go up and we can't effectively hear it and integrate it. However, when we ask for feedback, the brain is open. It's not threatened by feedback because we're actually inviting it. And so the way to create great feedback cultures on our teams and in our organizations is actually for asking for feedback to be an expectation and a constant practice that starts with you modeling the way. So those are the 7 hot tips that we've got today for emotionally intelligent feedback. And tune in for the rest of the month for more on emotional intelligence. Thanks, everybody.